Have you ever wondered why a state as rich in energy as Texas keeps having its power grid fail, especially when extreme weather hits? It seems to happen almost every year now, plunging millions into darkness, sometimes for days. What's really going on with the Texas power grid? Let's break it down. First, you need to understand something unique about Texas. Its power grid, managed by ERCOT, the Electric Reliability Council of Texas, is an island. Unlike the rest of the continental United States, which is split into two major interconnected grids, Texas stands alone. This was done intentionally back in the 1930s to avoid federal regulation. By not crossing state lines, Texas could keep control over its own energy market. This independence has its perks, like fostering a competitive market with sometimes lower prices. But it also has a massive drawback. When things go wrong, Texas can't easily borrow power from neighboring states. It's like being on a ship in the middle of the ocean with a limited supply of fuel. If you run out, there's no nearby port to refuel. So, when a massive winter storm like Uri hit in 2021, the demand for electricity skyrocketed as everyone cranked up their heaters. At the same time, the extreme cold started freezing the energy infrastructure itself. We're talking about frozen natural gas pipelines, frozen wind turbines, and even issues at coal and nuclear plants. The supply of power plummeted just as demand was spiking. ERCOT was faced with a catastrophic choice: either implement controlled, rolling blackouts to shed load and stabilize the grid, or risk a complete, uncontrolled collapse that could have taken months to repair. They chose the former, but the consequences were still devastating. You might be thinking, okay, that was a once-in-a-century storm, right? Well, the problem is, these extreme weather events are becoming more common, and it's not just winter. Texas summers are brutal, with scorching heat waves that push the grid to its limits. In the summer of 2023, Texas broke energy demand records over and over again as air conditioners worked overtime. The grid held, but it was stretched thin, with multiple conservation appeals asking Texans to voluntarily reduce their electricity use during peak hours. It's like driving your car with the RPM is constantly in the red zone. It might not break down immediately, but you're putting immense stress on the engine. So, why hasn't this been fixed? The core of the issue is a lack of weatherization and investment. After the 2011 winter storm, which also caused major blackouts, federal reports recommended that Texas power plants needed to be weatherized to handle extreme cold. This means insulating pipes, installing heaters on equipment, and ensuring fuel supplies are secure. But in Texas's deregulated market, these upgrades are expensive, and for many power generation companies, they didn't seem financially necessary for an event they thought was rare. The market structure incentivizes providing cheap power right now, not investing in expensive resilience for a future crisis. After the 2021 disaster, lawmakers did pass legislation requiring weatherization. ERCOT has been inspecting plants, and many have made improvements. That's a step in the right direction, but there's another debate happening: the energy mix. Some blame the failures on the intermittency of renewable sources like wind and solar. During the 2021 storm, wind turbines did freeze, and solar panels were covered in snow. However, the data from ERCOT showed that the biggest drop in power generation came from failures in the natural gas supply chain. Gas is the biggest source of electricity in Texas, and the infrastructure to get it from the wellhead to the power plant simply was unprepared for the deep freeze. This brings us to the future. What's the solution? It's not a simple one. Experts say it requires a multi-pronged approach. First, continue and enforce robust weatherization for all parts of the energy system, from the gas wells to the power lines. This needs to be mandatory, not optional. Second, we need to build more dispatchable power. These are power plants, like natural gas, nuclear, or geothermal, that can be turned on whenever they're needed, unlike wind and solar, which depend on the weather. There is a big push in Texas to incentivize the construction of more natural gas plants to act as a reliable backup. Third, improving energy storage is crucial. Giant batteries can store excess energy generated by wind and solar when it's sunny and windy, and then release that power onto the grid when it's not. This helps smooth out the intermittency of renewables and provides a buffer during high demand. Texas is actually a leader in battery storage development, but we need much more of it to make a real difference during a statewide crisis. Finally, there's the controversial idea of connecting the Texas grid to the rest of the country. This would end Texas's energy independence, but it would also provide a critical safety net, allowing the state to import power during emergencies. It's a trade-off between sovereignty and security that Texans are still debating, and what about our role in all this? Energy efficiency and conservation are a huge part of the puzzle. Simple things like better home insulation, more efficient appliances, and being mindful of our electricity use, especially during peak hours, can collectively reduce the strain on the grid significantly. It's not just about producing more power. It's also about using the power we have more wisely. The saga of the Texas power grid is a perfect storm of unique regulations, market forces, and increasingly extreme weather. While some progress has been made since the last major crisis, the grid remains vulnerable. Fixing it requires long-term investment, smart policy, and a commitment to building a more resilient system for the future. Otherwise, Texans might just have to get used to keeping flashlights and blankets handy every winter and summer. Thanks for watching. If you found this breakdown helpful, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the topics that affect our everyday lives. See you in the next one.